Stop. Life-saving warning from a stranger reveals an unexpected trap ahead. Incredible transformation awaits. The early evening sun dipped low in the sky, bathing the quiet suburban streets in a golden hue. Sarah sprinted down the sidewalk, heart pounding, her thoughts tangled in the chaos of her day. 2 jobs and caring for her ailing father left her breathless, but tonight, all she could think about was her kids at home. Just as she rounded the corner, laughter from the nearby park caught her attention. It was a sound of innocence, one she desperately wanted to protect. But then her world spun upside down. A stranger, eyes wide with urgency, shouted at a group of neighborhood kids, "Get out of here. The gang is setting a trap." Panic seized Sarah. The safety of her children felt as fragile as glass. She charged onward, her feet pounding the pavement, a visceral fear igniting within her. As darkness settled in, shadows stretched across the park, morphing it into a sinister playground. Sure enough, she sensed something changing in their once safe community. Sarah merged herself into conversations around the neighborhood, witnessing a stark division. Some neighbors stood resolute, rallying for unity and protection. Others, seduced by the promise of quick cash, turned a blind eye to the growing threat. The stakes were suddenly higher, and the air crackled with tension. At the next local council meeting, fueled by desperation, her voice shook as she stood to plead for cooperation. "We can't sit by and let fear take control," she cried, her words echoing like a desperate plea for hope. The room erupted in murmurs, eyes narrowing at her. Memories of her humble beginnings silenced the applause she longed for. "What does a single mom know about saving a community?" whispers echoed. But that only ignited her fire. She couldn't back down. These were her friends, her neighbors. They should cheer her on, not cast her aside. Sarah's resolve solidified, she needed to act. Before she could catch her breath, she took the next logical step. Sarah organized a neighborhood watch, pounding the pavement, knocking on doors, and rallying support. The response she got? A mix of enthusiasm and skepticism, but she took what she could get. She envisioned late nights spent with her neighbors, standing vigilant against the darkness, protecting their homes, their children. As each action brought a semblance of unity, the danger pushed back. That's when things escalated. The gang retaliated, and Sarah found herself face to face with the gang leader, a former classmate named Marcus. Memories of lunchroom laughter flooded back. A life once filled with dreams had unraveled for him, just as she worked tirelessly to hold her own together. "What happened to you, Marcus?" she whispered, heart aching. Their conversation unveiled layers of pain, both familiar and distinct, a profound understanding building between them. Could she reach him? Could they find common ground? Just as she felt an emotional shift that could stir hope deeper than the shadows, a chilling laugh from the gang cut through their moment. The air thickened with unease. "Time's running out," Sarah echoed in her head as she stood by, wrestling with the weight of her decision. Was redemption even possible in a world so scarred by choices? As her uncertainty loomed, she understood that her next steps could either save her family or tear her community apart. What choice would she make? The answer lay just beyond the shadows, but it felt just out of reach. Sarah's breath hitched in her throat as she faced Marcus, every heartbeat drum loud in her ears. The moments they had shared, the laughter exchanged in youth, now felt like a distant dream shadowed by his life choices. She searched his eyes for a flicker of the friend she once knew, but what she found made her stomach churn. The gang's laughter faded as Marcus stepped closer, his face a mask of conflicted emotions. "You don't understand, Sarah. This isn't just about money anymore. It's power, respect," he said, voice low and gravelly, but there was a tremor in it. She caught a glimpse of vulnerability before it vanished, like smoke in the wind. "Respect?" Sarah echoed incredulously, shaking her head. "What about the kids playing right over there, the families who are scared to even step outside? Is this power worth destroying lives?" He hesitated, weighing her words. For a brief moment, she saw the cracks in his hardened exterior. The boy who used to sit next to her in algebra class was still there, buried deep underneath years of hardened choices. "I didn't ask for this life," he muttered, glancing back at his friends huddled in the shadows. "None of us did." That's when realization struck Sarah like a bolt of lightning. In Marcus's brokenness, she saw her own struggle reflected back. All she had wanted was to protect her family, to protect her neighborhood, but what had she done to help those hurting in it? "Maybe none of us asked for this," she replied, her voice softening, "and maybe it's time to change that together." The tension in the air shifted, the intensity of their moment peeling away layers of animosity. For the first time, Sarah felt a glimmer of possibility. But just then, the gang members outside started to pace, their energy a palpable threat. "Marcus, listen to me. This doesn't have to end in violence," Sarah urged, stepping forward, the darkened park swirling around them like a tempest. "You're not just a gang leader. You can be the one who brings change. You can lead them to safety instead of fear." Marcus's gaze faltered, and Sarah realized she was risking everything. Relying on memories of camaraderie, she reached out for something greater than herself. Behind her, the distant sounds of laughter twisted into cries of distress, pulling her attention back to the present danger. Her blood turned cold as chaos erupted at the park entrance. A rival gang had arrived, and there was no time left. Tonight could unravel everything she fought for. "Marcus!" she shouted, adrenaline surging. "Protect this community, not destroy it." A moment hung in the balance, and it was Marcus's decision that could shift the tide. Would he turn the gang away from chaos? As their eyes locked, Sarah held her breath, waiting for his response. In that fraught silence, everything they'd been through together seemed to shape the future they just needed to choose. But would he embrace the light or draw deeper into the dark? The moment stretched, and just when she thought she might see change, a loud crash echoed from nearby. What were their next steps? What would Sarah risk to save her community, and would Marcus stand beside her or let his past dictate their fate? The night's shadows loomed larger than ever, and the answer was anything but clear. Sarah's heart raced as the chaos at the park entrance reached a fever pitch. The sound of shouts and breaking glass ricocheted off the trees, death rattles of a fragile peace. She turned back to Marcus, panic pooling in her chest, hoping to find resolve in his eyes. But he stared at the unfolding chaos, wrestling with the weight of his decisions. "Marcus!" she urged again, her voice meeting the frantic night. "This isn't just about you or them. It's about everyone watching. It's about our families. Please." The gang members at the shadows turned restless, their whispers rising into murmurs of eagerness. They thrived on fear, their excitement crackled like static in the air. In that moment, Sarah saw how easily Marcus could succumb to the madness. It would be so easy. But somewhere beneath the bravado and the uncertainty, that boy she once knew flickered to life. She took a step closer, reaching out for him, bridging the distance that years of choices had created between them. "Remember the park cleanup? The summer festivals?" Her voice cracked as nostalgia washed over her, bringing her strength along with it. "Remember when we helped fix the swings? That wasn't just a project, Marcus. It was us believing we could change something together." His jaw tightened, his hands knitted into fists. The internal battle was raging. She felt the desperation clawing at her throat. They were at a crossroads, not just him, but their whole neighborhood. "Listen to her," a new voice broke through the tension. Sarah turned to see another familiar figure appear, Claire, a local social worker who had always tried to bring unity to the community. She stood defiantly against the backdrop of mounting chaos, her presence radiating calm. "There is still time. You can be a hero, Marcus." His friends shifted uneasily, uncertainty creeping into their faces as they glanced from Marcus to Claire. Sarah felt the atmosphere shift, a crack forming in the wall of defiance around him. "Do you want to fight?" Claire pressed, raising her voice to be heard over the rumble of footsteps approaching. Or do you want to lift your community out of the darkness? There's so much more to respect and power. Think about the legacy you want to leave behind. Marcus's stormy gaze flickered between the thrumming adrenaline of battle and the tangible warmth of change. For a moment, Sarah saw hope light up his eyes, and then like thunderclaps the rival gang surged forward, their faces twisted by anger and claims of territory. Marcus, she whispered, taking a chance. Choose what you want to protect. He inhaled sharply, the decision twisting painfully in his chest. The space between them crackled like electric fire, and Sarah felt a deep yearning for what once was a friendship that could thrive again if only they could all break free of this turmoil. Let us show them what we stand for, he finally said, carrying a heartbeat of conviction laced with uncertainty. Then, with swift intention, he turned, rallying his own crew. Sarah's breath caught in her throat, aware that moments like these could either create or destroy everything they had ever fought for. As they prepared to confront the impending chaos, she felt her voice catch again, but what if it's too late? His response never came. A sudden commotion erupted to their right, and a single shouted name echoed through the sounds of chaos: Marcus. The night was far from over, and a storm was brewing, one that would challenge everything they believed. Would Marcus be able to turn the tide? Or was this moment only the beginning of deeper battles to come? Marcus' heart thudded like a drum in his chest as he turned at the sound of his name. The chaos faded briefly, his focus narrowing down to the figure sprinting toward him. It was Nick, a childhood friend, his face a mix of urgency and fear. Marcus, wait! Nick gasped, breathless and wide-eyed, before squeezing through the crowd. The adrenaline-fueled tension around them felt like a storm ready to break. You don't understand. There's a trap. We can't go in there. What do you mean, a trap? Sarah interjected, her eyes darting between Marcus and Nick. A spark of fear ignited within her. The park, once a place of laughter and memories, now loomed dark and ominous. Nick's voice trembled as he continued, I overheard them planning this. They're waiting for us to charge in so they can cut us off. It's a setup. We can't just rush into this. The words hit Marcus like icy water. His friends, his crew, they were already itching for action. He could see Marlon and the others, their faces set and eager for a fight, blinded by the promise of power and respect. But now, with Nick's warning echoing in his mind, doubt began to seep into his confidence. Marcus. Sarah's voice sliced through his turmoil. You have to think about this. How many times have we seen this happen? People rushing in, driven by anger, and paying the price? The murmurs around him had quieted, tension still hanging like heavy fog. His gaze shifted to Claire, who stood with her arms crossed, wearing a steadfast expression. The hope she had once instilled began to waver as uncertainty crept into her eyes. But what if Marcus started? But the hesitation in his voice was evident. What if we wait? What if it's not just fear but an opportunity? An opportunity? Nick shouted, almost desperately. Or an opportunity for them to exploit our mistakes? You introduce compassion into chaos, and you end up losing more than a fight sometimes, you lose everything. Marcus felt the weight of his choices start to shift unsteadily like sand beneath his feet. Memories flooded back those summer afternoons when laughter was the bridge that connected them, not conflict. Choose what you want to protect, Sarah's words echoed in his mind again, but now they blended with Nick's warning. What do we do then? He finally asked, unable to mask the uncertainty in his voice. Do we just stand here and let them throw the first punch? No. Claire stepped forward, her resolve coming back in a rush. We don't stand here like targets. We need to gather everyone together. Let them see that we stand united. No violence, just strength in numbers. Marcus felt a spark ignite in him. They wouldn't fight fire with fire, they would douse it with unity. The warmth of hope began to flicker inside again. All right, he breathed, turning back to his crew. We regroup. We stay together and we make them see who we are. We're more than just fighters, we're a community. Cheers erupted among his friends, but Marcus noticed a cloud of doubt still hovering over Sarah's face. They were running against the clock, and he needed her unwavering belief now more than ever. But if we do this, Nick warned, we need to be ready. There's no turning back. We might end up on the wrong side of this battle. It doesn't matter, Marcus said, looking firmly at Sarah. What matters is that we're ready to show them the other side of this, what it means to be together. We take a stand. The murmuring crowd began to rally, arms raised in defiance, their voices forming a powerful chorus. But in the depths of his gut, Marcus couldn't shake the feeling that this was only the eye of the storm, the calm before the winds of true conflict began to swirl around them. As their unity solidified, the rival gang's ominous forms loomed on the horizon, the tension electric and alive. Would they truly be able to hold the line, or would this newfound courage be met with the storm they feared? Then let us move, he said, feeling the pulse of determination beat alongside his own. For our community. The gathering roared, newfound strength building within them. But deep inside, Marcus felt a gnawing fear, a whisper that something darker awaited them just ahead, lurking and watching, ready to spring the true trap. What had they really stepped into? The ground felt alive beneath Marcus's feet as he and his friends surged forward. Voices united, their cries rose like a battle hymn echoing in the depths of the park. Yet as they moved, Marcus couldn't shake the gnawing doubt that nipped at his heels like a persistent shadow. Nick's warning loomed large in his mind, a specter that cast doubt over their bold decision. Keep it together. Claire yelled, her voice ringing out like a clarion call amidst the growing tension. She turned to Marcus, her green eyes fierce with determination. This is our moment. We have to stay focused. He nodded, but the weight of leadership felt heavier now. The cheers of solidarity were almost drowned out by the thumping of his heart, every beat a reminder of what was at stake. Marcus glanced over at Sarah. She was scanning the crowd, her brow slightly furrowed, still caught in the storm of uncertainty. Sarah! He shouted, hoping to break through the haze of fear surrounding her. We're doing this together. Trust us. It's not about trust, Marcus. Sarah shouted back, frustration bubbling beneath her calm exterior. What if we're walking into a massacre? What if they take us all down? The thought sent a jolt through him, but he refused to let that fear show. Instead, he turned back to face the gathering crowd. Listen up. His voice clenched like a fist over the surge of emotions around them. This is about more than just us. It's about our future. We stand strong together, no matter what comes. His words hung in the air, and for a moment, it felt like the world paused to absorb what he had said. Then, just as fast, the crowd erupted again, their energy crackling like electric current. Together. 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 They made their way to the edge of the park where the trees parted, revealing the rivals poised, waiting like a pack of wolves. The hair on Marcus's arms stood straight up. Their opponents were numerous, their faces twisted with anticipation, and for a heartbeat, doubt crept back in. Hold! Cried out Nick, acting as the voice of reason. We stay focused. We don't charge in. We show them our strength without losing ourselves. But how? A voice from the crowd called out. They'll overpower us. By standing firm. Nick countered. We show them what we stand for. Our community is our shield. Both sides stood like two storms ready to collide, the air thick with tension and unspoken words. Marcus felt the gaze of the rival gang on him, searching for fear, for weakness. Then he took a breath, feeling the warmth of solidarity around him, buoying his resolve. Listen, everyone. If we fight today, let us fight for something greater. Not for anger or revenge, but to protect what we love. His voice broke slightly, but he pressed on, "We won, let hatred win." A murmur of agreement spread through the group, gathering strength like a rising tide. Suddenly, just as hope threatened to eclipse their fear, a piercing scream echoed from the direction of the rivals. It shattered the moment, transforming anticipation into an ominous reality. The ground shifted beneath their feet as a figure broke from the shadows, sprinting towards them. "Marcus! Behind you!" The stranger gasped, panting heavily, eyes wild with terror, the cheers stilled as everyone turned, an avalanche of uncertainty crashing down. The band of rivals shifted, grinning like Cheshire cats, darkness shimmering in their presence. "What are they planning?" Marcus whispered under his breath. The rising dread settled deep in his chest, awakening something primal. He looked back at the stranger. There was something urgent in their eyes, something that screamed danger, and just as clarity started to break through the chaos, a single thought pierced his mind: what if they weren't here to fight at all? "Get ready!" he shouted, adrenaline coursing like wildfire through him again. But in that moment of heightened awareness, he knew that battle wasn't just between them and their rivals, it was also against the fears, the uncertainty, and whatever twisted trap lay ahead. As the shout of warning hung in the air, something shifted on the horizon, and the moment of truth approached like a freight train, unstoppable and fast. Would they be able to brace for impact? What were the true stakes of the fight that loomed in front of them? The stranger skidded to a halt right in front of Marcus, breathless and wild-eyed. The crowd went silent, a collective astonishment washing over them as they tried to grasp the urgency in the newcomer's voice. "You don't understand, they're not here for a fight. They're being hunted." Whispers rippled through the gathering, skepticism battling with alarm. Marcus felt the weight of those words sink in. Hunted? By whom? "They're not just rivals, they're caught in something much darker," the stranger pleaded, his eyes darting nervously toward the rival gang, a pack that now shifted, murmuring amongst themselves, no longer looking so confident. "They came here to escape. If we confront them without understanding, it could end in chaos." Everyone looked to Marcus, searching for guidance. He took a deep breath, his mind racing. What if the stakes were higher than they anticipated? What if fighting meant doing the very thing they wanted to avoid, creating more violence, more pain? "All right," he called out, raising a hand for silence. "We need to hear more. What do you know?" He could feel Claire's hand grip his arm, tight with anxiety as she urged caution, but Sarah's gaze locked onto him, urging him to seek the truth. The stranger hesitated, eyes scanning the rival gang again. "I overheard them. They're caught in the middle of gang wars, and an even bigger threat is coming, something that could destroy both sides. They need help. If you face them like this, they'll see you as an enemy, but if you hear them out, we might find a way to stop it." Marcus's heart raced. He was on unfamiliar ground. "So, you think if we reach out, we can stop this escalating?" "Yes," the stranger implored. "But you need to act fast. They're terrified, and fear makes them unpredictable." The murmur in the crowd shifted again, doubt battling against curiosity. Nick stepped forward. "Marcus, if we stand down, we could risk losing our chance." "No," Marcus said, digging his heels in. "If we respond with violence, we'll end up repeating the cycle we've been fighting against. We need to stand for something: unity, compassion." Sarah nodded slowly, her features softening. "If there's a chance to help, to change this, then we can't turn our backs on it." With newfound resolve, Marcus turned back to the rival gang, hands raised in a sign of peace. "We're not here to fight. We want to understand, to find a way to keep everyone safe." Laughter erupted from the rival side, but it was laced with desperation. "Safe?" one yelled back, incredulous. "You think we can trust you? Who are you to help us?" "People who know what it's like to be cornered," Marcus replied, his voice steady. "People who believe in change. Just like you." As uncertainty echoed in the air, he saw some faces soften, hope glimmering in their eyes. The crowd behind him shifted, rallying around the message. Together! Claire shouted, her voice cutting through the tension. Together, we can stand against whatever is coming. Suddenly, the energy shifted. The rivals hesitated, confusion seeping in. Were they truly ready to listen? And what would happen next if they did? In that charged moment, a loud roar broke through the park, like thunder rolling across the sky. Everyone turned, eyes widening in fear as shadows loomed closer from the trees, unmistakable and fierce. Whatever was approaching would not be deterred by a simple call to peace. Just what were they all up against? Would the choice for understanding lead them into deeper danger than they ever imagined? The roar echoed again, a primal sound that made the ground tremble beneath their feet. Marcus felt a swell of panic rise within him. It was like an ominous storm gathering, the tension crackling in the air. All eyes were on the fringe of the park as shadows took shape, manifesting into figures that hurried toward the confrontation. "What is that?" Sarah whispered, voice barely above a breath. The stranger nodded grimly. "I can't tell you for sure, but whatever's coming, it doesn't think twice about taking lives." From the trees, figures emerged tall and menacing, clad in black, their faces obscured by hoods. A sharp blade glinted in the sunlight, the cruel edge catching the eye of everyone present. Murmurs flared in the crowd, shifting from hope to terror. "Back away!" Marcus shouted. He didn't know if his voice held authority, but instinct took over. "We need to keep the peace." The rival gang instinctively fell into formation, their own fear palpable. The heaviness of dread hung between them, but Marcus could feel their uncertainty. Fear had a way of binding hearts, even if it also wound them tight with mistrust. "Stay calm," he urged. "We can't let them sense our fear. Together, we can face this." Just as he spoke, the lead figure stepped forward, palm raised, revealing a tattoo that snaked down his forearm, a symbol of a brutal gang rumored to dominate the darker corners of their city. It sparked recognition, dread pooling in Marcus's stomach. "Don't move." The voice was deep, infused with authority. It made Marcus's skin prickle, sent chills racing down his spine. Behind him, he could hear Claire gasp, the sound intimate and sharp, like the cracking of ice. "What do you want?" Marcus asked, trying to keep his voice steady, though his heart raced. "What brings you here?" The man stepped closer, eyes narrowing as he scanned the gathering. "You're standing in our territory. You should heed the warning. We don't take kindly to outsiders meddling in our affairs." "Then help us understand," Marcus pleaded. "We're all about to face something far worse. We aren't enemies." "Enemies?" The man chuckled darkly. "That's a little rich coming from someone who calls upon unity. Everyone's just trying to survive, Marcus. And you can't survive if you don't learn who your real enemies are." Marcus felt the intensity rise. The crowd behind him felt restless, a low hum of anxiety. Would they listen? Was he pushing too far? Suddenly another roar from the shadows cut through their tension. No, not just one now, but a chorus of growls followed by a wave of movement as more figures emerged. Marcus's breath caught in his throat. Whatever threat loomed behind the rival gang, it was voicing its arrival with a terrifying presence. "They are here," the stranger hissed, his wide eyes darting back and forth. "We don't have time to waste. If you want to live, you need to choose a side." "Forget about sides," Claire shouted, her determination igniting the crowd. "We need to face this together." Across from them, the lead figure hesitated, caught in the tension of the moment. Marcus could see it, the flicker of doubt clouding his gaze, but it was fleeting. A deep growl erupted from the creatures now edging forward, fierce and primal. The air shifted, dread rising like smoke. It reached through the crowd, causing their breaths to quicken. "Are you willing to fight?" the tattooed leader asked, the question laced with a challenge. Marcus felt the stirrings of a decision brewing within him. Would they fight for survival, even if it meant fighting each other? Or could they unite against this new, unyielding threat looming ever closer? As the growls crescendoed, the dark figures drawing nearer, Marcus opened his mouth to speak, tension hanging in the air like a noose. What would he say? Would his next words bring them hope or despair? Marcus's heart pounded in his chest as he faced the tattooed leader. The urgency of the moment weighed on him like a heavy anchor. He stole a quick glance at Claire, and the determination in her eyes ignited something within him. They needed to act, but how? Listen! He shouted, voice cutting through the chaos. We can't fight each other right now. Those things, whatever they are, they're coming for all of us. The growls grew louder, the creature's eyes gleaming like shards of glass in the setting sun. He could see them now, hunched forms, shoulders thick, teeth bared. The leader looked at him intently, clearly weighing the risks, while the tension in the crowd thrummed like a live wire. I'm not afraid of those monsters, he finally said, his voice steely. But I won't waste my strength on you. Neither will we, came a voice from the back, anger flaring among the group behind Marcus. The murmurs turned into whispers, then into a shout, panic mixing with determination. Stop! The tattooed leader bellowed, silencing the crowd with a single command. His eyes darted to the approaching threat, the figures shifting closer with each heartbeat. The fear that had held Marcus tight now morphed into a burning resolve. Listen, we all want to survive, Marcus urged. This isn't a time for division. They're organized, and if we don't band together, a sudden, spine-chilling roar erupted from just beyond the tree line, deep and haunting. A massive creature burst forth, muscles rippling under dark skin, with eyes glowing like wildfire. The crowd recoiled, gasps echoing through the park. What the hell is that? Sarah cried, fear twisting her features. But Marcus didn't have time to answer her. We need to stand together, now. He shouted. He stepped forward, adrenaline surging through him, a wave lifting him above the fear gripping the others. If we don't, we're going to lose everyone we care about. We can fight off these beasts, but only if we're unified. The tattooed man paused, slowly considering Marcus's words. The threat before them loomed larger than any past rivalry. He turned to his gang and spoke quietly to them, exchanging looks filled with uncertainty and fear. Then, as if on cue, a chorus of snarls erupted from the woods, more beasts entering the light, all brimming with primal energy. Your side or mine? The leader asked, the weight of his question solidifying the tension in the air. Claire stepped forward, her conviction igniting the space. We're standing together. Our differences don't matter when facing this. We fight as one, or we fall together. An electric shiver coursed through the crowd as they began to shuffle closer together, the rival gang caught up in Claire's passion. Join us, the tattooed leader commanded, holding out a hand, but he could feel the grit of indecision weighing on him. He glanced back at his gang, looking for the courage to stand alongside their erstwhile enemies. Marcus felt the moment stretching. Was it too late for trust to bloom in this charged atmosphere? Would they stand with him when the beasts ripped through the line? Just then, another deafening roar erupted, the ground vibrating as the creatures raced toward the unified front. Time is running out. Marcus shouted, desperation lacing his voice. Are you with us? Their hearts quickened as the barrier between compromise and conflict split wide open. Staring down the approaching storm, every soul felt a choice beckoning, raw and powerful. The crowd clutched makeshift weapons, the line of fighters formed together like a new heartbeat. But would they fight together, or fall apart in the face of the unknown? As the darkness lunged, Marcus braced himself, his world teetering on the edge of transformation. What awaited them on the other side of this fight? The ground shook as the monstrous creatures barreled toward them, their primal ferocity palpable. Marcus clenched his jaw, every muscle coiling with tension. This was it, the moment they either stood united or succumbed to chaos. Take your positions. He yelled, forcing his voice above the growls. To his relief, the tattooed leader stepped forward, a fierce spark igniting in his eyes. "You heard the man. Move!" The rival gang fell in line, spreading out like a ripple in water. Claire was at his side, her face resolute, an unwavering flame amidst the gathering storm. He could feel the collective heartbeat of the crowd echoing in his own. Each thud was a promise, an unspoken vow that they had chosen to fight together. "Stay close," Marcus directed. His heart raced at the thought of what lay ahead, yet the unity blossoming around him warmed the edges of his fear. They were no longer divided. Sarah brandished a pipe she had picked up from the ground, taking slow, steady breaths. "I can't believe we're doing this," she murmured, a blend of dread and determination in her voice. "Focus, Sarah," Marcus urged. "Together, we can take them down." He glanced at the beasts charging in unison, a terrifying display of sharp teeth and wild eyes. The first one, massive and scarred, was almost upon them now. At that moment, the tattooed leader raised what could only be described as a bat wrapped in chains, brandishing it like a rallying flag. "For our lives, we fight," he shouted, the words echoing with defiant strength. The roar of their shared battle cry filled the air, a sound primal in its power. The first creature lunged, claws slashing through the air. A fierce warrior from the rival gang charged forward, intercepting it with a swing of the bat, the metal clanging on bone. Blood sprayed, and a moment of stunned silence fell over the crowd as they processed the violence unleashed before them. "Keep moving," Claire shouted, urgency in her voice snapping them out of the trance. "Don't let fear take hold." With a shout, Marcus dove into the fray alongside her, adrenaline surging through his veins. He swung a heavy branch he grabbed and connected with the side of another beast, feeling the impact reverberate through his bones. A roar of pain escaped the creature, mixing with the howls of the others drawing closer. "Back to back," he shouted, positioning himself beside Claire as they faced the nearest beast. The lines of their bodies formed a barrier, just as the other fighters began to create their own defenses. Together they paced forward, thrusting weapons and striking back against the onslaught. The sounds of combat, the grunts, snarls, and echoes of heavy blows became a chaotic symphony of survival, but even as they fought, a deeper awareness settled in Marcus's gut. The realization hit him like ice water. "They're not just attacking," he gasped between hits. "They're leading us somewhere." "What do you mean?" Claire shouted, swinging her makeshift weapon in a wide arc, taking down another beast. "Look at their movements. It's like they want us to follow." The tattooed leader glanced back, urgency stretched across his face. "Keep your eyes open," he commanded, but Marcus could see confusion sharpening the edges of their newfound alliance. "Fall back," Marcus shouted suddenly, raising a hand. "They're luring us into a trap." But then it hit him. What awaited them ahead? As waves of furious beasts bore down, Mary from the rival gang yelled, "We can't retreat. Not now." Marcus could see panic rising anew, the unity they built teetering on the brink of chaos. "We have to trust each other," he hollered. "But where are they leading us?" A looming shadow danced at the edge of the clearing, and with his heart pounding, uncertainty struck. Something darker awaited just beyond their fight. Would they find safety together, or was this just the beginning of a far deadlier challenge? As the battle against the fearsome creatures raged on, the air thick with chaos and the sounds of conflict intertwined like a frayed rope. Marcus could feel the weight of his words and the collective heartbeat of the community behind him, every swing, every decision pivotal. "Stay close," he yelled, turning to Claire as another beast lunged at their makeshift barrier. Side by side, they thrust their weapons forward like two flames flickering defiantly against the dark. The clamor of struggle echoed around them, and for every beast they took down, his heart surged with hope. But doubt gnawed at him. Were they truly gaining ground or merely being drawn deeper into a trap? "Marcus, they're flanking us," Claire shouted, her voice sharp enough to cut through the madness. He turned just in time to see another wave of creatures kicking up dirt, their eyes glinting with a terrifying hunger. Suddenly, everything fell still for a split second, an eerie silence hanging thick like fog before the tension snapped back. That he felt a hand on his shoulder, and he turned to see Sarah, her face determined and fierce. "We're all in this together," she proclaimed, lifting her pipe high. "We can't let fear take the driver's seat." Her strength was infectious, and looking into her eyes reignited the flame of solidarity that had ignited their fight. "Marcus!" the tattooed leader roared from across the field, lashing out at another attacking beast. "Get everyone on the defensive. We need to regroup." In that pivotal moment, clarity struck him like light breaking through the clouds. They weren't just fighting beasts, they were fighting for their families, their community. This wasn't just about survival, it was about forging an unbreakable bond against all odds. "Everyone!" Marcus shouted, his voice cutting through the storm. "We're not just fighting these creatures, we stand for each other. Form lines. Protect each other. We can't let them divide us." The energy shifted. The fighters around him began to connect instead of fight alone. They mirrored his resolve, a unified wall now dancing together, drawing strength from the bond that held them as one. Just as he felt that barrier beginning to solidify, an unsettling rumble rolled through the ground again as more creatures streamed into view. A primal fear clawed at the corners of his mind, but he reached deep and found the courage to rally them. "Together!" he roared with unyielding spirit. "We fight for our families. We fight for freedom. We fight together." The crowd surged forward, their emotions fueling their power. For every creature that bore down on them, there were more fighters willing to step into the fray. One by one, each lost soul joined the formation, transforming fear into a collective defense, turning the battle into an act of unity. In the thick of it, Marcus felt a rush, a wild amalgam of hope and adrenaline. He swung his makeshift weapon again, the force of it propelling him into the conflict. But then, amidst the chaos, a flash of movement caught his eye. Something larger, lurking just behind the fray. "What are you doing?" "Keep fighting!" the tattooed leader yelled, frustration barely masking the fear. Marcus's heart raced. "We can't keep going deeper into the forest. What if it's all a ruse? What are they truly leading us to?" "Let me lead!" the man shouted. "This is my ground too. We won't cower." But the clarity didn't just lie on the surface, it reached deeper into the very fabric of their combined resolve. It was about recognizing the true enemy, not just the beasts, but the power of fear that had divided them. In the heat of battle, a loud roar echoed again from the depths of the forest. This time fear coursed through him like ice water. "Draw back!" Marcus yelled, hoping for a pause. "They're leading us into something worse." Everyone hesitated, confusion and hesitation swirling like fog. Just then, another grossly twisted creature charged through the underbrush. It staggered into view, larger than the rest and exuding a terrifying aura that sent tremors through the ground. "Regroup!" Claire yelled, but the shadows hung heavy around them, swallowing their choices in acrimony and dread. The tension hung like a blade over their heads. The beast surged, but instead of fear gripping his heart, it transformed into fierce resolve. "This is far from over," he shouted. "Stand together. We will not be broken." Emboldened by his words, the crowd rallied, shifting to form a barrier, their collective spirit igniting a brilliance in the dark. It wasn't fear that broke them, but unity, growing like wildfire among them. With renewed strength, they surged forward, weapons raised, hearts in sync as they prepared to face the hardest challenge of their lives. In that pivotal moment, in the eye of the storm, Marcus felt something shift. The monsters around them were not the only danger. Scattered shouts ignited a realization the promise of unity had given them strength, but they had to step beyond the fight. Could he turn this into a shared journey toward rebuilding? Could they turn the destructive energy into a catalyst for hope? As they fought side by side, facing the darkness together, he realized they were living proof that even in the bleakest of moments, transformation awaited. They were carving out their future, one swing, one unyielding call for community at a time, and as the thick shadows receded and dawn began to break the horizon, Marcus knew that if they made it through this, the bonds forged tonight would shine brighter than any monster that lurked in the darkness ahead. Now was the time to transform fear into promise, to emerge into the sunlight, not just as survived, but as a community reborn. They would rise, as one, as true warriors in the face of uncertainty. Subscribe immediately to the channel to not miss the next exclusive stories. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm, comment your reactions and feelings about this ending. Share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. You need to support the channel, and this is the moment to show your love. Don't wait not even one more second to share.